Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. I met today's guest many years ago when I spoke at a Veg Fest in Florida, the first one actually in that area, and he's gone on to be involved in many more. He's the founder of a plant-based diet.org. Please welcome Mike Young. It's nice to reconnect with you.
Hey, great to see you again too. Yeah. And we're on opposite coasts, but it's just like we're talking in real time. I love the internet.
I know, it's so cool. And you have not, I don't know, maybe it was like 7 years ago that I spoke at your Veg Fest, and you have not aged a bit.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm 51 and this is all my real hair too. So that's I'm very thankful for a lot of things.
Well, I love your backdrop, and I can't wait to learn more about the things that you're doing and where you're doing them and how you got started.
Sure. Well, let's see, my vegan story, my plant-based story, however we want to look at it, I've been on a lifelong journey. I'll condense it as short as I can. When I was a child, I never liked eating animal products, specifically any kind of meat. I was repulsed by it. Okay. And at the time, of course, my parents thought I had nutritional deficiencies because of this and all kinds of things. Come to find out, as I got older, I kind of fell into the pattern of everybody eating standard American diet in my 20s. But as I got out of there, I started to have some health problems. At age 30, my cholesterol was slightly elevated. So I looked into it, and sure enough, I realized I had to get rid of the rest of those animal products. And it was a period of time over the maybe almost 10 years from 30 to 40 that I finally got rid of all of the animal products and, realized I had some right inclinations since the very beginning. But back in the 70s, 80s, nobody was really talking about this kind of stuff. So anyway, that's when I realized all this and also realized I had no friends or family that followed this type of a lifestyle. That's when I got involved in this nonprofit here, a plant-based diet.org. We launched it unofficially in 2014, officially approved by the IRS in 2015. And 2014 was my beginnings of veganism for me, or no animal products, specifically focused on health for me anyway, because that was what got me into it. I know there's many reasons, for people, animals, and planet, it's our slogan. So it could be any of the three, of course, as we know. And then I started up local groups through the nonprofit in areas that I frequent. I figured, well, wherever I'm going, why don't I just try to meet up with like-minded individuals? And that's what the internet's for, right? So we have these groups on Facebook, and I've met up with lots of people, and that's kind of what got going the Veg Fest where I met you. I met other folks in Florida, in Southwest Florida, and actually that has been and is our center of almost the majority of our activity is there still. For some reason, that was just an underserved market when we got in there in 2014, and we've been just taking advantage of opportunities as they've shown up, as the movement's been growing.
So you've had your hand in about 17 Veg Fests now?
Now, yes, our season starts in October 10th outside of DC for Loudon Veg Fest, and our season goes all the way through about a year from that, and we've got 17 on the calendar. Yeah.
So will they be happening even with the pandemic the way it is?
We believe so. We believe we're well positioned, actually, because all of our events, all of our festivals are outdoor events, fully outdoors. They have been since the beginning, and I know some folks have been concerned because, it might rain, okay? But as we've seen with the pandemic, it's actually, I think, an advantage to have outdoor events. We're set up for outdoor events. We even have a giant outdoor video wall so that doctors, including Dr. Greger, who had never done an outdoor event before one of ours, I convinced him to show up and do a presentation outdoors on our wall. And, it's wonderful for that. And of course, it minimizes, any kind of, concerns about COVID and anything else going forward for that matter. Outdoors is the way to go.
I remember it did start raining in the middle of my PowerPoint outdoor presentation at your event. And one of the people in the audience was kind enough to bring me an umbrella.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and we have covered seating areas, usually covered stages. So, we work around. But nature, right? We're all about nature. I think you and I both believe, and in this movement, that nature is providing the plants. Nature is providing everything. Ideally, if we can do it right, that's the preferred way to do it.
Yeah. So your nonprofit, what is it? What do you do, like on a daily basis and with people?
What do I do? Yeah, I'm constantly doing things. We were discussing before the show here. I've got so much to do, which is wonderful. I'm very thankful for that, because in the beginning, I had so much time on my hands and nothing to do in 2014 because no one was really interested in this, except for a few select people. But now I'm managing the social media groups, so the little communities we have. Like our largest one is in Southwest Florida, and then we have one in the Triangle of Raleigh, North Carolina, and one in DC. Those are our three largest communities. You can find them on our website. If you go to a plantbaseddiet.org and then click on the local communities, there's a tab there. You can connect to those communities. So I'm kind of manage those. We're constantly planning for festivals, of course, because a festival just doesn't, you can't do it in a week's time. It takes months of planning before every fest, and we're doing many concurrently. And there's always something going on, some kind of pressing business that needs to be addressed with these. And we have a lot of volunteers that help us out as well. So communicating with them, communicating with venues, and it's exciting because we're kind of leaving a time where we couldn't do this. We were only online. Of course, we have a YouTube channel as well. We have other things online, but we're focusing on these live events right now, and just making sure they're going to go smoothly, that to get the word out. And like, if the viewers here want to learn about our events, a shortcut besides going to our website, because you'll see them all on a tab that says Vegfests. If you go to EcoFest, ECOFEST, ecofest.info, that takes you straight to our list by state on our website. So you can see where we're going to be. You can invite your friends, because we really want to reach out to the unreached. That's the whole point of what we're doing, because our events not only are outdoors, they're usually in public places where people will frequently just walk by. We don't charge any general admission fees because we want everyone else to come on in and see what we're doing, right? That's the whole idea.
Cool. Now, you said you're a lifestyle nutritionist. What is that exactly?
Well, that's just someone that believes, like myself, that most people's health issues can be attributed to an improper lifestyle, and specifically nutrition being the number one factor, which I'm sure you agree with. It's the food, right? Like Dr. Clapper says. So someone like me can, advise people on what to eat, because the idea is, obviously not being a medical professional, not being a physician, and not in that paradigm, I want to keep people kind of out of that, the paradigm where they're constantly having health issues, right? And hopefully by me giving folks advice on what to eat, how to optimize their body, optimize the healing process, optimize the balance, that they have a better lifestyle going forward. And that's actually what we believe through our nonprofit as well. If you look at our ultimate mission statement of the nonprofit, it's an organic whole plant lifestyle, and anything that leads people in that direction. Because it's a journey for everyone, including me. I'm still on this journey. I don't think anybody has it completely figured out. We're always learning new things. So we view ourselves as educational. And like I said, we'll reach people wherever we can on the internet through no cost admission live events for folks. We have also a food certification as well. Actually, that's what's on this side of me right here. And I'm sure you can relate to this. There's not a lot of healthy vegan food. That's what we call it. Like if you see the sign, it's a healthy vegan food, and we try to give folks benefits for that, like people who attend our events. If you're going to bring some food that fits this definition, we're going to give you more promotions, better spot at our events. We'll do stuff for you online, all the stuff, because that's really where we want people to go. And as a quick view of what that is for our definition, and it's not the ultimate end all be all. It's, of course, there's no animal products. There's got to be plant fiber in the food, actual plant fiber. There's got to be no oil or anything with oil as an added ingredient. There's got to be no sodium, no salt as an added ingredient, and there's got to be zero alcohol in the food. And if you can meet that, and of course, AJ, I know you know that not many people can provide even one thing that meets that, then we're going to promote the heck out of you, basically.
Well, I think that's fantastic, because I've spoken at a lot of Veg Fests where you can't get anything healthy.
Right. So we need to feel, for us to feel right about having an event where we're meeting people where they are, as long as they're willing to give up animal products, we need to lead them towards what we think is best. Right. So we have plenty of unhealthy foods at the festival that don't have animal products in them, but that's what's needed for some folks to get on board. Right. And then once they get on board, then hopefully they'll learn more.
It's where I think it was at your Veg Fest that I met Dr. Sal, who's been on the show several times.
Yes, Dr. Sal, absolutely. Yeah, and it's wonderful that physicians are now actively involved. In the past, it was very hard to find a physician that was actually practicing somewhere locally that would subscribe to this lifestyle and to this to this whole method of this new paradigm, right, of plant-based nutrition and it being optimal. But now we find that every location we go to, there is a doctor there locally that's practicing medicine in this regard, which is awesome for us to see. The only thing that's not awesome is that from our perspective, as much as we're seeing plant foods everywhere, even on like, ice creams, cheeses at the grocery store, faux meats, it's not things that are helping people with their health, right? And again, another reason why we got to have this at our events, this certification. And of course, for restaurants too, we do it for restaurants that are in our areas or anywhere for that matter.
Nice. Do you use a lot of volunteers? Because I remember at your event, there seemed to be a lot of people helping.
At that one in particular, yes. Things have changed over the times because in the past, it was awesome just to have any event that had no animal products at it, right? So people were all excited, right? It was new, like back in 2014, 15, 16, 17, even 18. I say 18 was when things really shifted in my mind. Now you see this all the time. I see a lot of events where it's just plants, but I don't see any events where they're leading people towards this, the healthy vegan food. So that is kind of what we're recognizing our new role is, because lots of folks have done a great job of getting the word out about why it's bad to eat animal products and you should shift over to plants. Lots of people have been doing that. It's a whole collective movement. And so anyway, the volunteers, we don't have as many volunteers as we had at specific events, but we've become more efficient in the way we run them. We use different tools like this video wall I was telling you about. I think you probably used it. I think we rented it at the event that you were at. We hadn't owned it yet, I don't think. I can't remember which one you were at. But we're using it for remote presentations too. And maybe you can do one at our events, because we're trying to use all the technology, right? So we got this video wall that's 6 feet tall by 12 feet wide, and it's like a billboard outside, right? So these LED ones that you can read. That's why Dr. Greger agreed to do one of our events, because we could read all this. There's no problem, even in full sun. And so you could go, not go anywhere, like we're doing right now, right? Put the screen on you. Chef AJ can give a presentation at our event. My camera, instead of being on me, will be on the audience. So you can see the audience, and then you can do a Q&A after you're talking. It's all live, and you're huge because that screen is 6 feet tall. You're way bigger than you would be even in person.
Yeah, I've seen those. Like when I used to live in Sherman Oaks, every Saturday at the park, they would have movies, and they would rent one of those, and it was pretty cool.
Yes. And our first talk in using this method is going to be at our first event, which is Sunday, October 10th, Loudon Veg Fest outside of Washington, D.C. And we're going to have Captain Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd, who has been live at our event before, but he's going to give a remote presentation. So that's going to be the first actual use of this technology.
So can we watch that? Could everybody, are you going to give us information that we can watch these presentations?
That's a good question. We're still developing this. I'm not sure. And if there's enough demand, we can figure something out. For right now, we're just trying to give folks who are in the area, at that local area, the best experience possible. But we can always do more, and we're always learning. And I want to also mention that we're also looking for anyone who wants to be a vendor or a sponsor for these events. And since we've got 17 events, we're looking for some national sponsors potentially that would want to a sponsorship deal on all of our events. And we have this giant wall. We can get all their information up. Again, go to our website to find more information, right? It's ecofest.info, ECOFEST.info. You just click on each event. You can find out more information, find out when they are, all these.
I went to that page. Sid, who's watching live, says you must never sleep. There's so many events. I went to the page, and you have festivals in Florida, Georgia, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. That's 7 states right there.
Yes, and let me say that we have a route. We're not kind of going all over the place, because if we were going all over the place and zigzagging, we'd never be able to do this. And I tow everything in my electric car, actually tows all of our equipment with us. So I have to go in a route. It has to be like a circle. And that's what it is. We kind of go down in a route and we come back up. So when the weather's cold, we're down in Florida, which is where the majority of our events are, because it's never really cold in Florida, as we know, especially South Florida. It never gets cold. So those are the best times of the year to have outdoor events, is in the wintertime in Florida, because there is no winter. And then, of course, the best time in New England is the middle of the summer, because they have the most amazing summers. So that's what we do. We put each event in the best location for the best weather, the best potential weather and experience for everyone.
Yeah. How do you start a Veg Fest? I always wondered. We had one here in the desert before the pandemic. Actually, a college student did too. And I'm just so impressed when people can pull these together.
Well, it's been a learning experience. I didn't know what to expect when we first got the word out in 2015 about having one in Southwest Florida. And it's called SWFL for folks who aren't familiar. If you look on our site where you go to ecofest.info, SWFL is the one I'm talking about, Southwest Florida. It's an abbreviation. We just really, each one is unique. It's different. It's not like a franchise or anything. Actually, anyone can start one up. And ideally, there would be one in every location because we want to give folks a place where we can gather in a public area. Again, no cost to these people who are showing up, right? To experience life without animal products and experience how better it is. And of course, let us show you. Uh-oh, my light just went out.
Oh my God. So that wasn't a real screen. That was a virtual screen.
Yeah, it was. Actually, I got to get the.
Oh, that is so funny. It's like, I feel like the Wizard of Oz. We're seeing what is really behind the curtain.
And it's live now too. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix this while we're talking. Well, you definitely know this is live, right? If this is happening like that.
That's funny.
What it was is it was a battery that I had, and the battery just went out. And these are the kind of technical difficulties we will run into when we're doing live events too, when we do events. So let's see how good I am at fixing them. Let's see how fast I can do this.
Thing is you have to maintain your composure.
That's right. That's right. You see? Oh, there we go. There we go.
And here I thought you had a screen just like me.
Well, it looks like it now, right?
Absolutely.
There. Okay. I look better now, right? Okay. I'm back. See? I jumped through that hoop. This is what I have to do. Actually, if you want a real experience of what it's like to run just one Veg Fest, you just got it. Because it is just nonstop putting out fires, literally. Okay, that was just a fire that occurred right there. But we have them at every event, and it's almost nonstop. You do all the planning you can to try to avoid the fires from even starting in the first place, but inevitably they start.
Do you have any funny stories of when things didn't work?
Oh gosh, they're not funny. Maybe I can laugh about them now. But we've had technical difficulties where, let's say, we're always at a different venue. Correct. Each of these 17 events is at a different venue. We have to learn the lay of the land. We have to learn how everything works. And occasionally, even though they guarantee me, hey, you know what? We've got enough electricity for you and your audio and your video. Sometimes it works for a little while and all of a sudden it goes out. Just kind of like what just happened right now. But when it goes out at a venue and we're in the middle of an event, usually someone's giving a presentation and one of their electricians needs to go and reset one of the circuit breakers or something like that. So that's been the most challenging thing, is just keeping that consistent. It doesn't happen very often at all, actually. But when it does, it's a major problem because usually we're right in the middle of something.
You know, I've even been at conferences where things happen or PowerPoints don't work. And it does make it very difficult when you have a PowerPoint presentation when you can't use it.
Yes, exactly.
And I've seen everything from speakers getting upset to being nonplussed by like, oh, well, do the best you can under the circumstances.
Yes, and that's where having a lot of experience really comes into play, because we have had to deal with so many of these things so many times. And like I said, I would love if we were in a perfect world and I never had to worry about these things ever again. But the reality is that's what happens. You either look at it sometimes as an opportunity or a problem. If you're learning from it, then you're going to learn how to make things better the next time. And that's what we try to do.
Right. Do you have any memories of favorite moments at Veg Fests?
Favorite moments? Yeah. Well, you were there. That was a big. Yeah, actually, I will tell you, when you were at our Veg Fest, you really made a big impression on my wife. I wasn't married at the time, I don't think. I think that was 2018 when you were there, right? I believe it was in the early months of 2018, because I didn't get married. Denise and I weren't married till December of that year. And anyway, you actually, it could have been 2019. I don't know, but that's not relevant to the story. The point is that you showed a chart, I think, up on the screen, right, with the red line on it, I believe. Is that right?
The calorie density chart, the one that's
it.
Right here.
There you go. And that made a huge impression on her. I remember she kept talking about it on and on and on, after that's such a important point of what you need to really, I guess, memorize almost in order to make sure that, you're not, basically you got to eat the right amount of calories. And of course, we all know how to do that now. It's really from whole plant foods and just limiting the nuts, seeds, and avocados. But that graphic that you gave left a big impression, I'm sure not only on her, but on others.
That's so cool. Do you know Dr. Frank Sabatino or Dr. Stefan Esser? They're both in Florida.
I don't know if I do, but
well,
please
I
connect
think
me.
I need to introduce you because I think they would be what they've been on the show many times. I think they'd be wonderful speakers for your Veg Fest. Dr. Esser's in Jacksonville and Dr. Sabatino is in Deerfield Beach. Because what I love to do with this show is connect people. And I think you really like both of them.
Yes, absolutely. And let me also mention another thing that we are doing, as I say, like kind of in the spirit of constantly learning, and maybe this will be a great learning meeting introduction with those doctors, is that we are actually on an even more, I'd say, challenging project or higher level project that some people know about. It has to do with things that are going on in Ecuador. For instance, they have an Amazon fruit festival, which if you look on our Facebook page, plantbaseddiet.org, on our calendar, you'll see it's on there. It's in January. And that's at a community that is an intentional community that's growing, which is amazing to me, of basically like-minded individuals, right? Because I'd say that, Chef AJ, you can tell me how you feel about this, but I'd say the biggest challenge with people getting on and keeping on this lifestyle is peer pressure from others, which is usually going the wrong direction. You know, I mean, I'd say most of the world, as we know, is not living this lifestyle. So it's hard. And there's an intentional community down there of people that want to grow their own food organically. They're mostly raw vegans, although not exclusively. And there's a community set up there of basically people that have met through the internet, and they have a festival every year. So we're actually in the process of building a house on that property, and we want to incorporate that into the work that we're doing as a nonprofit, because we believe that even though what they're doing is very new and they're almost pioneers at what they're doing, I would say, it's amazing. I think if you know, just they're in the right climate for growing all these plants and growing them organically and not having to irrigate with water other than natural rainfall, you know? So we're really excited about what's happening in that area.
Do you ever attend other Veg Fests to get idea for yours, like some of the big ones like Boston or Portland?
I have been to, actually, no, I have not been to Boston. I mean, really, most of these haven't happened for a couple of years now, right? But I have in the past. And going forward, since we've got so much on the calendar right now, I'm not sure about if I'll be able to attend them, but I certainly want to, because we definitely pick up new ideas. We meet new people, and as a collective movement, it becomes stronger, I'd say, when we're all working together.
So are all your Veg Fests free to the general public?
Yes, that's something we do. Absolutely. Our Veg Fests, yes, there's no cost for anyone to just show up, just walk by and just hang out. No cost at all.
Then how do you do it? Because there's got to be expense involved.
Of course, there's many expenses. Well, we ideally we want to bolster businesses that are focused on and have similar ideals as to what we have. So the businesses who have an opportunity to make money off these, which are plenty of, actually anybody's business, as long as you show up at our event and you don't bring or talk about animal products, you can participate with us. So they will pay an entry fee, right, to be there. And we try to rely on donations as well, which on our website, again, you can donate. There's a donate tab there if you want. But all of that just goes to making sure we break even. Because at this point, at least, we're just a volunteer organization, especially since COVID. We've had a challenge to survive. I'll tell you that, you know, but as long as we can break even, meaning the required mandatory expenses are paid, right? For like venues and insurance and other things that are absolutely required, then we keep our fees to the vendors as low as we can, but many are free. Like if you look at farmers, there's no cost for them to show up. There's no cost for animal rescues to show up. There's no cost for, I think, schools that are actually licensed educational institutions. We want these people to show up and participate in our event and let other folks know what they're doing.
That's terrific. What percentage of people that attend your events would you say are not vegan, or maybe they're veg curious?
Well, it's not as high as I would like it to be. I'd love it to be the majority of people. I think all the folks in our organization would love it to be the majority of people, because we don't want to be preaching to the choir, although we're happy to. And we do to some extent. But we need to make sure the event's fun, right? And it's a good time. And we've got all these people involved. That's when the general public wants to show up, or if they happen to show up, but they're like, hey, what's going on here? You know, this looks like a good time. So ideally, it would be more than half. I don't think that we're necessarily there at every event. It depends, because that is definitely our purpose is outreach.
That makes sense. Yeah. What do you think is the driver for most people to come? The community, the food, the entertainment, if there is one?
Yeah, sometimes there is entertainment. Depends on the event. The food, yes. The community, yes. I mean, really just being in an environment that's local to where these folks are living. Although we have plenty of people that travel to these festivals, most people that show up are local. And it's just a place where they can go and they can see what a life without animal products is, right? And they can learn about maybe some of the higher level things, like when you were on stage and when others are on stage. We're talking about a lot of times higher level topics that are more challenging to folks. And people need to continually be challenged, because if you're not challenged, you don't grow, and nobody stays the same, in my opinion anyway. You're either growing or you're backsliding.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out, that these are free events and that there is cost, because I think a lot of people, I mean, some of the best just charge a small amount. I don't know any that charge more than $10, because people don't realize we don't get paid to speak at Veg Fest. I mean, I was doing the circuit and people think you make all this money. Most of them don't even pay for your travel or your hotel. So people, I mean, I'm glad you pointed out that it is, volunteer driven, grassroots driven, and donation driven. Since saying, do you have Dr. Campbell scheduled at one of your Veg Fests?
Yes, actually, he is going to be at the Southwest Florida SWFL Veg Fest. We're changing formats this year. We didn't have that one last year. We're going to be on a plants only farm. It's very close to the location of Bonita Springs where it used to be. And it's open there. Anybody can show up. And Dr. Campbell will be also delivering a remote presentation. So he will be doing similar to what Captain Watson of Sea Shepherd is going to be doing here in October. He'll be in the middle of February, which is when that one is in Bonita Springs, and he'll be on the big screen, giving one of his presentations, which will be awesome.
Yeah. You titled this presentation, let me go look at it. We called it Vegan Travel, Veg Fest, and Food Forest Living with lifestyle nutritionist Mike Young. So what is food forest living? That's a term that I'm not familiar with.
Okay. Well, see, this is what we're doing in Ecuador. And actually, my wife and I are also in the process of doing this in Florida, in Southwest Florida, where we are in the process of constructing a house. What we're trying to do is, how we're trying to shift the entire paradigm. Okay. Truly, when I say entire, I mean, not only are we shifting away from animal products to plants and making us as healthy as we can with the healthy vegan food, but we want to also go organic. Like I mentioned, that's one of the precepts of our nonprofit. No chemicals. That's what that really means. I don't care if it's farming your plants. I don't care if it's your landscape, whatever it happens to be, no chemicals, because that stuff just runs into the water and pollutes it. And in Florida, especially, they have major problems with water quality. All of us due to runoff of some kind. So the food forest is basically a replacement for a lawn, right? If you think about a lawn, it was just like our diets. Our standard American diets are eating like kings and queens of past, right? That's what we're trying to do. If you think about it, if you really go back into history, same thing with the lawns, as I understand, is that's what kings and queens. They're the only ones that had all the extra land. They could just put this green carpet and maintain it, right? But a food forest is using that land not for grass, but for food that you're going to grow. So in both Ecuador and in Southwest Florida, where we're building houses right now from the ground up, we are intentionally going to use the land purposefully to grow food that we're going to eat. All right. So it's a whole new paradigm if you think about it, because I've been involved in real estate for a long time. Actually, I'm a licensed realtor. I've had a landscape business. This is totally the opposite of all the stuff I've ever done. And it's only been in recent times as I've been growing that I've realized someone's got to change this. We talk about all these reasons why we don't have enough food for people. Of course, it's because we're feeding the animals, but also because we're wasting the land. We're using it for a lawn, which is fine. It's always been fine, but why don't we do it differently? And that's what we're going to show. We're going to show this, how it can be done, so people can visit it and take part in what's going on. They can see what's involved in the design of a food forest, the maintenance of a food forest, how you can go out and eat your own food and how it's grown. That's the other thing, right? The only way you're going to know what you're eating truly is to grow it yourself, right? And you really want to do it correctly by folks who have knowledge in doing this. Ideally, you want to use natural sunlight and real rainfall to irrigate. I don't know if we're going to be able to use real rainfall all the time in Southwest Florida because they have a dry season in the winter when we do our events. But Ecuador doesn't really have that. Ecuador is pretty much. You don't need to irrigate anything there. So it's a whole new concept, and we're very excited about it.
Wow. How do people find out more about this?
Well, this concept that I'm telling you about right now, you can just go and like our Facebook page, plantbaseddiet.org, because we're posting things there. We will have more information on our website, but it's so new, and we're so in the middle of this, of just the beginning stages, that I don't have anything on the website about it right now, but there will be. But I'd say the biggest thing is like our Facebook page, or you can get on our email list on our website as well, plantbaseddiet.org. There's a way to, you'll contact us and get on our email list.
Do you have time to work a regular job with all this volunteer work?
Well, I have to, because I'm not getting paid. And as I mentioned, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a licensed realtor. I also have rental properties of my own that I manage. So these bring in income for me. I also have a landscape business. Like I mentioned, I've had that. I'm 51. I've been cutting grass in that landscape business since I was 8 years old. It's been running continuously. I have some customers I've been working for since the early 80s, believe it or not. One of them just texted me yesterday. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when I'd say I'm shifting, I'm making this shift, I am really telling you, I'm putting everything on the line that I've been doing. And it's been earning me money. Okay. And we're turning it around to a totally new direction.
Well, thank you for the work you do. People don't realize there's just, we always know the big superstars in the movement, but it's not that you're a little people, but it's people like you that really get the message out to so many people by the work you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we hope our goal is to positively impact as many people as possible, right? Because I think that we're at a very soon turning point in the world. Just a pivot point where culture and society is going to shift. I think when enough knowledge comes up. So the work that you're doing too, Chef AJ, is also very, very, very important. And I'm very thankful that you're doing it as well. So one little thought, let me leave you guys with here before I finish, is talking about Ecuador. I think the one biggest limiting factor in Ecuador, it's almost the same factor that brought it together. The internet brought people together to start planning an intentional community and almost a new society, really, in the Andes Mountains of the Amazon rainforest in Southeast Ecuador. And actually, let me tell you the names of those. You want to look them up. It's Terra Frutis, Terra Frutis, Frutis, and Fruit Haven Eco Village. You can find those on the internet. Anyway, the limiting factor has been when they got there, I think they didn't even have any internet. But now that Starlink, if you're familiar with Starlink, is imminent and about to launch, I think it's going to be a total game changer, a total paradigm shift to where it won't matter, especially after COVID. People can now find that they can work remotely doing most jobs, right? Well, what's the limiting factor there? It's a lack of internet. So even if you go to the best place where you can grow the best plants on earth, if you don't have consistent, high speed, high quality internet, you got a problem, right? Because that's where society has moved. And anyway, we're excited because we think we're part of that. I'm so excited to see where this is going to go in the future.
Sid Notter is watching live and says she's excited to be speaking at one of your upcoming events.
That's right. Sid is awesome. Yeah, she's one of our nutrition consultants, and we do videos on a regular basis. And Sid has a tremendous amount of insight and experience, and much like yourself, Chef AJ. And yeah, we are so thankful to be just associated with passionate individuals who are willing, to take risks and get the word out to people, really. Because it's with most of society, I think we know it's unpopular, right? It still is.
Yeah, she's been on the show twice. I always say Sid Notter, I never forgot her. On Sunday, I had Dr. Salish Rowe on, and he was talking about climate change. And he was talking about 3%, he wants the whole world vegan in, I think it's 6 years, and I just couldn't believe only 3%. That is like nothing, 3%. And it's just, in my world, everybody's vegan. So it's just, but not.
I know.
But when you think about the billions of people on earth, that is really very small numbers.
Well, it can change fast, right? That's what we're hoping. I think when you get to a certain point, I know a friend of ours, Yoshi, he has a food business in Florida. He's Ecuadorian, actually. He has an organization called Collective Wave, right? The idea is that when you get to a certain point, this wave is going to build up, and then it's just going to cover everything, and that's what we hope is going to happen, right? But through all the efforts, and Dr. Rao as well, I totally support what he's doing. I know with the climate healers, right? I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and everyone's doing their thing, and it's just going to bring that paradigm shift, that tipping point closer and closer till it finally happens. And I'm sure that in my lifetime, we will see that happen.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you with Veg. Oh, let me read this comment first from Anne, that she loves your energy and passion. And so that's very nice. Florida seems to be an amazing place in so many ways to do this. And yeah, and she's saying you need to connect with Dr. Esser because he has a ranch, like I guess where he's going to be growing his own stuff. He even has a donkey. So after the show, I'll introduce you to both Dr.
Yes.
and Dr. Esser. That would be great. Do you think that, one of the, I think it's so interesting because when you go to Veg Fest, at least when I've gone to Veg Fest, and some of them have nothing healthy to eat at all, right? And it's funny because the speakers are often the ones like myself or like Dr. Esselstyn, who's no oil, who are promoting not to eat this. And there just seems to be a little bit of an imbalance. And I've had a lot of Veg Fest organizers get upset with me about my talk because they say, well, you shouldn't bash oil because they got olive oil vendors, things like that. So is there a disconnect, or do we need this vegan junk food as a transition? Because I became vegan 44 years ago. There was no vegan junk food, right? It's either vegetables or, there was junk food. I could have soda, I could have chips, things like that, but it wasn't
labeled vegan.
Exactly. And there weren't meat animals. I think Loma Linda had this canned meat that does not sound appealing to me, but for the most part, there wasn't fake meat, fake cheese. There wasn't even plant milk in a box 44 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the disconnect you're talking about, it exists, and it's part of the work that needs to be done. And that's why, like, for instance, we recognize that folks who have been working with us over the years, we all recognize it. Like for exactly what you just said, that you show up to the event and it seems to be almost all junk food. And what is our ultimate message here? So that's why we need to have like a ladder, a pathway, right? We have to be able to offer more resources for people to challenge them further in their journey. Because as I mentioned, it's a journey for me too. I don't claim to have it all figured out. I claim to know a lot more than previous generations. And obviously, AJ, you are way ahead of your time. Like, I can't even imagine, okay? based on when you started. But now I think that it's wonderful that so many people are willing to give up animal products, but I don't want them to hurt themselves in the process, right? If we're trying to not hurt the animals, we definitely don't want to do anything that we're likely hurting ourselves. And so, but it's okay. It's okay if they're going to join us where they are, where they're willing to consider giving up animal products. That's where our events and a lot of things that we do online are there. And then we will help them to evolve as best as we can. And or others like yourself will help them as well.
And I agree with you. I would much rather have people eat fake meat and fake cheese than eat animals. But if it endangers their health, especially because so many people come to me for weight loss, and that's not going to happen eating junk food, whether it's vegan or not. So it's a complicated issue, isn't it? Hey, so here's a question on your food. Let's see. It's from Lori. She goes, well, what's your diet, Mike? Is it whole food plant-based? Is it vegan? Is it raw vegan?
Okay, for me, I started out at 2014, believe it or not, I started out like organic raw vegan. That's what I wanted. But in 2014, I realized there was nobody. I couldn't find anybody who wanted to eat like that. So I quickly didn't stick to it. But I've always been no animal products since 2014. And I've always had a focus on whole foods, not minimally or low processed foods. Of course, no added oils, no added sugars, no added salt. However, I do have treats on the weekends. That's kind of how my wife and I have evolved. We are super strict during the week. We're talking like almost fully organic, fully whole foods or minimally processed foods all week long. And then even on the weekend, still I'll eat. We'll usually travel actually, because our kids are older. We don't have any dependents. We don't have any pets anymore. So we never got to travel. So we travel a lot now. And when we travel in our electric car. We kind of keep our distance even now from people. We just go to natural places, do hikes, and we buy organic produce to take with us. But we will go somewhere when we're out, and that's our treat. And it doesn't matter what it is. Usually I'll eat it because I'm looking for something that just I want to indulge in, for a meal or two on the weekends. It just has to have no animal products in it for me at that point in time. That's our pattern. But I'll also tell you that I get sick. I pay for it because my diet is so strict. And I've always been, like I said, I had some right ideas at a young age because my body tended to reject those foods, those animal foods and those high fat foods. And even today, I see it. I've almost gotten to the point where I don't even want to do a cheat meal anymore. Like I can't take it. I can't deal with it anymore. which is great, I guess. I mean, maybe that means I'm in a very, very optimal state of health. Only time will tell on that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, first I want to thank Gwendolyn Darrell for her wonderful super chat donation. Thank you so much. I was thinking when it comes to diet, and I agree with you. It's like when you love your food, you don't really need a cheat meal. But I was thinking, I grew up, I went to Orthodox Jewish school. I'm not Orthodox now, but that's how I was raised. And, the Orthodox Jews kind of looked down at, there was different levels of Judaism. There was Reformed, there was conservative, there was Orthodox, ultra Orthodox, Hasidic. And I look at veganism, it's like, we've got like at the top of the thing, we've got like, the fruitarians, and then we got the raw vegans, and then we got the SOS free vegans, and then we got the oil free vegans, and then we got the regular vegans, and then we got the junk food vegans. And it just seems like, I feel like Rodney King saying like, can't we all just get along? We're vegan. That's the main thing,
Yes, yeah, we can and we should. And I think that's the purpose of our organization. That's why we say organic, whole plant lifestyle, and anything that leads people in that direction. Our only cutoff is we're not going to be okay with animal products, right? So we do want to work with everyone. We know it's not possible because I know, I mean, it's almost like a timeless truth, right? The one way to fail is to try to please everyone. Even within the vegan movement, right? It's not going to be possible, but we try to work with as many people as we possibly can. We try to provide that path because I do think it's a path, even though you brought up there's all these different sections of veganism, right? We as an organization view it as a path and a path of learning. It is very difficult sometimes, the learning process and the unlearning process of unlearning how we've been raised, right? That's even more difficult.
Yep, absolutely. And everybody, and people have to realize that there are some people that were born vegan, but most people aren't, and everybody has to start somewhere. But I guess it can be frustrating because sometimes when that you don't want to see people go down a path, like you say, that might compromise their health, because the problem is the vegan junk food is just as delicious as the non-vegan junk food. And for some people, it can be downright addictive,
Yes, I know. And like I said, the saving grace for me here is that it makes me feel like crap, literally, after I eat it, because I'm so strict eating. And I recognize many people, right? They may never draw the correlation personally between what they're eating and some kind of negative health consequence, or it may take decades. For me, it takes, not in 10 years, it takes 10 minutes. And then I'm like, oh gosh, I can't do that anymore.
That is so cool. So you mentioned something about vegan travel. What do you have to say about that subject? Is that something you do a lot in your electric car, or do you have some tips on that? Because that can be hard for people. I mean, I know there's Happy Cow, which is a very helpful app, but like you said, sometimes it's other people that make veganism difficult.
Yes, yeah. I mean, traveling has been awesome. Actually, one thing we realized this winter is that my wife has a tech job, and she's gone to the office. At least she did pre-COVID, and then no one went back. So the minute my landscaping season ended up north, which is only seasonal, right? I don't do anything in the winter outside of the growing season up north. We just said, let's go somewhere. Let's get in the car, bring all your computers. I'll make sure you're connected to the internet, and let's travel all over. And that's what we did all winter long on a whim. We were like, we can do this now. Why don't we do it? And yeah, an electric car was it's the best way to do it, because you can have climate control without an engine running. And that's very important if you're spending a lot of time in the car. And I was driving my wife. She was in the back seat working almost the entire time. And at the end of the day, we'd find a hike or some sightseeing to do every single day, different location. We just keep driving. That's what we did. And it was so much fun, but it was the same general process I described, which is we'd load up on organic produce in our cooler in our car. And then occasionally we would go out for a meal, which was, we tried to do as best as we could, but I'll also throw a plug in here for Green Fare Organic Cafe. Nobody's like Green Fare. Okay. I've traveled the whole world. Green Fare is the only restaurant, it's in Herndon, Virginia, that everything meets our certification, every single item. And most restaurants don't even have one, right? So that tells you the difference. So we knew what we were getting into, but we wanted to travel since we never have for the most part. And we saw all these national parks and all these things away from others. And it was a great time, It was a lot of fun.
Gwen's been on the show twice, once with Pericles. Yeah, I wish we had more restaurants like that everywhere. Wouldn't that be great if there was a chain of Green Fare restaurants?
Yes, it would be the best we could ask for sure.
Yep. You know what we need is one of the things that comes up a lot on this show is people want to meet other vegans, like matchmaking. And I've had a vegan matchmaker on twice, but is that something that you dabble in? And how did you meet your wife?
Well, actually, what I did was I met her on Bumble, which is an app. If you guys are familiar with it, it's now a publicly traded company, apparently. It wasn't when I met her because it was in 2017. And it's like Tinder, only the female can actually start a conversation. Okay, guys are not allowed. That's the difference between Tinder and Bumble, among other things now, I'm sure. But I said in my profile, most of what I'm talking about here condensed into like 3 or 4 sentences. Okay, I put that in there so people knew what they were getting into, because I don't want to pretend I'm somebody I'm not. I'm not going to be okay if I'm severely limited by somebody, because I realize that there's really nothing more important than this entire movement at this point in time, in my mind anyway. So that's how we met. And then for us right now, since we have a lot of local groups, every once in a while, I'll get on there as a moderator and I will say, if anybody is single and vegan, comment here, say if it's okay if someone can private message you, and then that some people can meet that way. Some people have met at our Veg Fest. I know that as well. So you never know. You just got to be around more like-minded individuals that you want to hang out with.
Absolutely. Is there an app for this? Maybe you could create one.
There might be. We don't have one, but maybe that's something else we need to work on.
Yeah. There's a comment from me in the chat. Any progress on opening a vegan culinary institute in the desert? Well, that's not something that I'm capable of, but I do teach classes here when there's not a pandemic and there are some stores. So if you get on my meetup, my local meetup, you'll know when I'm teaching here. That is so cool. I wonder, Mike, have you ever either thought about writing a book on how to do your own Veg Fest, or have you consulted with other people starting out to try to do a Veg Fest?
Consulted with others. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Larry Rumbaugh over there in Orlando, Florida. He's been probably doing this longer than anybody. And he, in the beginning days, was an invaluable resource in helping to basically learn from the mistakes, right? That's what it's all about. You're constantly learning. And like so many things in life, you just want to, either you want that knowledge, that wisdom transferred to you ahead of time to avoid problems, like Larry's been able to do, or you want to learn as fast as you can, make as many mistakes as you can, and then learn as fast as possible. And yeah, I could probably write a book at this point, probably.
Maybe you should. I think that would help a lot of people.
Well, actually, you're right. I could. That'll be another project to work on. Actually, one other thing I want to mention is that I do have a book. It's not a traditional book. It's like almost everything I do is not traditional. It's just new. And I call it a V book, a video book. It's called Live to 150. So if you actually type in live to150.org, you'll see the beginnings of this book. And that's where I feel like my calling is right now, is just relaying this information to people and getting it out to them. And that's going to be the book. It's going to be no cost, and it's out there. There's an introduction and like 2 chapters online right now. But I imagine by the time it's done, it'll have 200 to 300 chapters.
Wow. Well, what is the secret to living to 150? I'm guessing being vegan is one of them.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it's everything you could ever think of that's evidence-based that leads to longer life. And I think we're at a point in time now where we can finally put this puzzle together and know almost all of it and choose to follow it like you're doing, AJ. I mean, really, you're doing most probably of what I'm going to end up having in the book. You're already doing it. And unless actually, you are sitting down, right? Okay,
I'm sitting down now only just because for this live show, it's I don't have a standing desk yet.
Yeah, well, that's the only reason I could fix my stuff, because I am standing. I'm always standing. I try not to sit down. But there's all these different facets. It's all lifestyle. As we both know, it's almost all food, but all the other factors are also very important. And I do believe that if someone takes the time and the energy to research this, or to watch my V book, or whatever you're going to do, watch Chef AJ, and saturate yourself in this information and live it out, then you probably will live to 150. I think that knowing how long people live right now, and that just are constantly harming their bodies over and over again, knowing what it takes to live long, that they're doing the opposite. They still live to 70, or 80. That's mind-boggling to me. Okay. So that's why I think, this is my opinion, that everyone should be able to live to 150.
Wow. I just don't know anybody that lived that long.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at the people that have lived a while, like 120 or so, if you really dive into what their habits are, they're not that great. I mean, sometimes people will just, everything falls into place and lines up, and bam, you got a long life because, that bus didn't hit you last week or whatever. All these things just went your way. You didn't even realize it, right? Just like winning the lottery. I use this as an example a lot. I could plan my retirement. My retirement plan could be, I'm going to win the lottery, and that's my retirement plan. And it's possible. It totally is. But the chance of that happening is almost zero. So I'm not going to use that method. And that's kind of the whole philosophy behind this Live to 150 book is, let's do what we already know. And yeah, you could do none of it, still live to 150. But right. I'm not taking that chance. I only have one life. So
Tracy says they have Christian mingle and farm mingle. Why not vegan mingle? Have you ever thought about like doing like mingling events at your Veg Fest, like having a booth or a tent and like
having an hour?
Yes, like you know how they did that thing, like it's just lunch or speed dating. Maybe these vegan events could have, you know, like 1 hour during where there's no speaker, for example, like 12 to 1 lunchtime or something like that, encouraging them to go to vendors and just having like little vegan speed datings. Because we have somebody watching live, old Pueblo vegan, saying he's a single straight male and he's looking. So let's see, where does he, let me see where you live to see if I can help you. Tucson, Arizona. Well, let's see, I do know lots of vegans there, but they're all married. Darn.
Arizona's nice. My wife and I were there for the first time this winter. It was an awesome little state.
Absolutely.
Actually, big state.
You know what I was wondering, and maybe you know the answer to this, and if not, maybe you could create it because you seem like a real entrepreneur to me, is I wish there was a master calendar, because a lot of times, like for example, I had an event planned and I had to cancel it because there was another vegan event planned that had a similar audience, but I had no idea that they had the event and they got their tickets out soon. It just seems that if there is a master calendar, not everybody knows about it and not every event's on it. That would be most helpful, Mike.
There is. I don't run it, but someone has been running it for a few years. I think if you go online and do a search for vegan events, just those 2 words, or vegan event calendar, you'll find it. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Maybe I need to change my lifestyle to improve my memory. I don't know. But at one point I did know what it was. It made something with vegan events. And we have our own vegan events link, but there is a calendar like that has more than just our stuff on it. It has everybody's stuff and people can submit. So that does exist.
Right. Great. Thank you. Who does the cooking in your family, you or the missus?
Oh, gosh. Well, we are not very good cooks, but we both split it. Okay. And that's why raw appeals to me. You know, if I can get organic, raw food, like real food, not food like products, right? The real deal. I don't have to cook it. That's very appealing to me.
It really is the easiest, you know, when you think about it. Like, and I feel that way, like in the summer when it's hot. I'm not raw. I was in like yesterday. I was just so tired and lazy. I was hungry. I ate a whole cantaloupe. It was so easy because it was already cut up. And like you say, you don't have to cook it. It is quite easy when you think about it.
Yeah, and I don't mean to discount anyone that does cook, because I do cook too. My wife does. It's just that, as you can hear, I kind of have a lot of things going on. So the more efficient I can be, I try to implement those things. And actually cooking is not super efficient. I know it's very enjoyable. Many people love it. And we have cooking demonstrations at a lot of our events. And Chef AJ, that's what you do. You cook and you do an amazing job, and you're an amazing example for people. I'm just kind of commenting on my own lifestyle and where I am right now.
Yeah, well, even when I do cook, it's really ridiculously easy, steaming vegetables in the microwave and roasting potatoes. Because the older I get, the less interested I am in doing that, and especially since I do so many demos. Let's see if who's watching live is Thomas Allen. And if you don't know who he is the proprietor at the most wonderful vinegar company called California Balsamic, SOS free. And just for being on the show, you get 2 free bottles in the flavor of your choice. But he was saying he needs to go to more Veg Fest because I think his product would be very, very popular. So how can he get a list? Because he's actually in Ukiah, California. I don't know if he could go all the way to Florida. Maybe he could with his little trailer, but he would be, I think, very welcome. A vendor like him would be welcomed at Veg Fest.
Absolutely. Right? We welcome everyone. I don't care what you do outside of our event, as long as you only bring things that don't involve animal products or talking about animal products. Okay. That's the only stipulation, because we want to include everyone. And that's why we do it that way. But the list is EcoFest, ECOFEST.info. That takes you straight to our website and the tab that has all the Veg Fest by state. If you want them by date, go to our Facebook page, plantbaseddiet.org Facebook page, not the website, and look on our events calendar. And a shortcut for that is plantbasedevents.info, plantbasedevents.info. That's chronological. And we're all on the East Coast, and we have the Ecuadorian event too, the Amazon Fruit Festival, that's on there as well.
Well, you've got, as they say, you've got your fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're all vegan pies for sure.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
boy, it was really fun catching up with you. I remember, it's funny because you were actually recommended to be on this show by another guest, and then it triggered that I did know you, my memory that, and you were very nice to me when I was there. I actually stayed with. I've been trying to get her on the show, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy Reinhardt. Yep.
And she just doesn't want to come on. But I've had Dr. Sal and I've had Dr. Deal, who, even though
Dr. Hans Deal. Yep.
From here, he spoke at the same time as me. Yeah, that was a really fun Veg Fest. I remember it was.
Yeah, we try to make it as fun as possible. It's like your state fair or your farmer's market, only it's totally no animal products.
Right.
That's the biggest difference.
It's possible that she's joining Late Apple, but she said, are there processed foods at your festival? So you have a combination, right?
Right. We don't exclude processed. Like I said, we welcome everyone and everything, as long as there are no animal products brought to the event and no discussing anything that they do with animal products. We don't want to hear about it. That's why it's a special day, right? We want to show what a world can be without those things.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the work you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna introduce you. Seriously, I think you're gonna really like these doctors a lot, and that's great. So what's your absolute next thing? What's your absolute next event in case people want it?
Next event is Loudon, Loudon, Veg Fest. Actually, the shortcut is loudonvegfest.org. That takes you straight to the website. Sunday, October 10th, just west of DC, Washington, DC.
Nice. Terrific. Well, thanks so much, Mike. It's just been a pleasure catching up with you. And if you have any recommendations for my shows, bring them forward. And if you ever decide to, because you had mentioned with Paul Watson that it's going to be virtual as well as in person. If there is the virtual component, let me know. I'd be happy to promote something like that, because I think, it's not going to affect the attendance in person. The people that are going to come, but then maybe more people could be, or even if you can't do the whole thing virtually, even if you just did like one presentation, know what I mean?
Yes, that's what we're doing. Yeah. And I think it will affect the attendance. If people knew that you're there and that I can look into a camera and ask AJ a question and she's going to answer it in front of everybody, I think that might make a difference to people.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be terrific. I can't wait to see. And, as terrible as the pandemic is, that component now of having, I guess they're calling them hybrid events. It's actually kind of a cool thing, if you ask me.
Yes. Like I said, I think that the only good thing to come out of the pandemic is that you just mentioned, because it also enables lifestyles in Ecuador to happen, because people can earn a living. That's the hardest thing. If you're going out in the middle of nowhere, where are you going to earn money? How are you going to earn money? You either got to have good internet connection or have an understandable employer, right, who will allow you to do that. And before the pandemic, almost no one allowed anyone to do that.
Right. I'm going to just make one suggestion to your book, How to Live to 150. Maybe put in the word healthfully, because I think unless you're healthy, there's no point in living longer. That's true. Yeah. Actually, it's just live to 150. It's 3 words, live to 150 and live to 150.org. Yeah. And you're right. I will also consider that as well. I'm only on the second chapter, like I said. So. All right. Well, when the book comes out, let me know. We'll have you back on the show. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Thanks so much, Mike. Well, it's funny. Your name is Mike Young and you're writing a longevity book. Do I look young? Because I've always looked like I was in high school. I would say you look. I know you said at the beginning of the show, I always ask guests now if we're allowed to say their age because of a previous bad experience with guests not wanting to know their marital status or their age. But you said you were 51, and I would say, I would guess you're, 20s, 30s. I would say definitely, yet not 50s. Yep. And I try also to keep my mind open to doing things different ways, new ways. Like totally different. I think that's where the future is. That's where the younger generations always want to do something different than their parents, right? Yeah. So, Dan, who's watching live, says her son said, "Do you look 30?" And it's so funny because I'm an Aries, double Aries, and I'm a pretty honest, I'm a really honest person. And it's funny because I'm 61 and I wear very little makeup on the show. I have nothing on my eyes. I have a little lip gloss, and I do put some foundation just to even out because of I have 3 lights here. But people are always accusing me of having had plastic surgery, gastric bypass, and I swear I did not. I am so afraid of even going to the dentist. But I say that not because I look so great. I know what everybody else in my family looks like with the same genetics. Yeah. And I really do believe, I always say to people, if you won't do it for the animals, the planet, or your health, do it for vanity, because you really do. I think at a certain point, start aging backwards. Yeah, I agree. And like we both know, you give the body the right conditions and it heals itself. It optimizes itself. And that's the goal in all this, I think. That's another reason I encourage people to eat whole food, plant exclusive, and not vegan junk food, because you don't get the same glow with, fake meat and fake cheese.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah, well, great. Well, it's so great to connect with you. Thanks
Yes,
again, Mike.
same
This
here.
was a pleasure.
You're
And thanks
welcome.
all of you. Yeah, of course. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow at the regular time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll be having a fabulous cooking demo, a spicy vegan fall chili. Fall is around the corner, not if you live in the desert though, with Kate Parker. Thanks again, Mike. And let's stay in touch this time. Okay.
Yes.